and welcome to what we call the Granville Connection. We are happy to host this wonderful event tonight with Alderwoman Chantia Lewis, and I hope everybody's ready to listen to what's happening in the new ninth. A lot of great things are happening in the new ninth, and with no further ado, because we all came here to hear Chantia, let's introduce Chantia Lewis, our Alderwoman of the new ninth.
Thank you, Mary. Good evening, everyone. How are you? Good. Oh, okay. So I know it is Game 5 night, right? Darn it. So we are going to get you out as quickly as possible because I too want to watch the game. But we are standing in a space for a particular reason, and I will let you know in just a few minutes. But I know we got a little bit more energy than that because guess what? It's not raining. There we go. I'm trying to, can you all see me back here? I am very short. So I first want to say thank you so much for coming tonight and being concerned residents and really wanting to engage and know what's going on. So I'm really proud to welcome you all to the Granville Connection, but the new ninth. And we call it the new ninth for a reason, and you will learn by the end of tonight. If you haven't noticed the new businesses and the new things happening, you will understand by the end of the night why rebranding is important and why we are the new ninth. So first I want to give a special shout out to, I saw our community liaison officers. Where did they go? Oh, there they are. They're hiding in the back. They work tirelessly in District 9, but Police District 4, which encompasses a very large geographical area. So, ladies, please, could you stand up for just a minute so that we can recognize you? Yes. We have amazing, amazing, amazing liaisons. I say all the time that they should be training others because they do such a great job and they care so much about this district. We have Commissioner of Development, Rocky Marcoux over here, who is a true partner, so let's give him a hand. And I want to introduce you to someone who you probably will never see unless you're opening up a business. He does a whole lot of back-end stuff for me, and for the district, he helps us from every angle. So I want to just give a shout out to Terrence Aqua because he does a lot of work for us to make sure that we can get businesses here. And if you haven't had a 5-minute conversation with me, you may not have realized how little bit crazy I am, a little bit off kilter, because I'm like, go, Terrence, go get, I don't know, something huge. Go get it and bring it back. So I give out like really, really large assignments, and he fulfills them to the best of his ability every single day. So I thank you and appreciate you for your tireless actions for the district, on behalf of the district. We also have our firefighters in the building. Good evening. And I see our Granville bid. We've got 2 of the representatives in the back. They're Granville bid, so we will be talking about that in a little bit. But Tim Hansen and Mark Krause, they're in the back. They are helping us to rebuild the district. So they are in the back if you have not met them as well. And then we have a number of business owners in the district who are truly invested. They are not leaving, and they are growing in the district. But I am really honored to have you all tonight. So what I want to do really briefly, because I know we are, we're running up against time, but how's the food? Food was good? All right. So we've got restaurants in the district, you guys. Isn't that exciting? But we have, so I'm gonna ask Rocky, come on up really quickly, please. And we will be joined by the mayor shortly because I want to show, first and foremost, that this is a united front on the development side. So I absolutely, hi! I absolutely wanted to bring you up and one, introduce you like we just did, but give you the opportunity to just have a couple of remarks really quickly before we get to the Q&A at the end. But I want you to, one, talk about the commitment and what we've been working on as far as how we've been trying to help get businesses reopened and out here and really solicit.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alderwoman Lewis. State of the city is what I'm used to, and now we got state of the district. I was amazed last year how many folks showed up, and I'm amazed this year. So welcome on behalf of the Department of City Development as well. Thank you for coming. Alderwoman Lewis has my cell phone. She knows where I live. Never an issue getting a hold of me. Spend a lot of time with her, spend a lot of time speaking with her on the phone, texting back and forth. And she is just an incredible ball of energy, although anyone that's in the district, I think, knows that already. We all know that we have a lot of challenges, right? But we also have an incredible number of opportunities. And what Terrence has been working on, as well as Ken Little and our whole commercial corridor team, and working in conjunction with the bid, with Mary Haney, we're trying to get more restaurants to come to the area, and that's not obviously, the folks that are here already, we're very pleased that you're here, but we need more restaurants, and I think the restaurateurs will admit that as well, because more restaurants brings more customers and more variety. And we know, we've heard loud and clear as well from the businesses that are here, and even the businesses in neighboring Brown Deer and far away as almost Menominee Falls. Folks are saying they want more choices. They're tired of taking their customers or their employees having to go to Brown Deer or to Menominee Falls, both very nice places, of course, but we want to keep those dollars here in this district and in the city. And that's something that Alderwoman Lewis has made a top priority. And not just fast food, right? I mean, fast food can get anywhere. We need more family sit-down restaurants, and that's something that we've been spending a lot of time. And part of it is trying to sell them on the statistics in the district are strong. We've got a pretty high per capita income here relative to other areas of the city of Milwaukee. But I think, we've got a bit of a bit of a hangover with all the retail that had left. So a lot of realtors, a lot of the brokers, they don't necessarily sell our area. And since they're not selling it as actively as we want them to sell it, that's where we come in. So you've got an alderwoman who's front and center and is not afraid about jumping in and trying to talk folks into doing the right thing. Terrence, myself, I've even seen the mayor do it, okay? We're getting in front of folks saying, why don't you look at the northwest side? Why don't you look at the area on Brown Deer Road? The entire area has such great potential. The traffic counts are huge. And obviously for the folks that live here, you know that you need more options. And we want folks to be able to look at the area as well as those of you that are looking to sell your home. You want your resale values to be there. And a big part of that is having the amenities that people want and expect in a neighborhood. And we're looking, as we did the charrette, and we unveiled the charrette last year with a lot of exciting plans. We didn't just put those on a shelf and put them away. We've been working that every single day, trying to get folks interested in what the long-term vision is, particularly on this section, right here in and around the old Northridge Mall, what we now know as the Granville, the big Granville Business District. And we're getting some traction. We've got some employers who have been moving into some of the old large format retail, engine and transmission exchange, amongst many others. I've done a fabulous job on converting some of those. Alderwoman Lewis has been working with us on changing zoning for some of the former sites that were retail so we can get more manufacturers here. Manufacturing right now is a big deal on the northwest side, always has been a big deal on the northwest side of Milwaukee. But what I mean by it being a big deal right now is there actually isn't enough space left in those business parks that were built years ago collaboratively by the private sector with the city. and they're looking at opportunities that are closer to here. And the important thing for that is we know we're never going to fill these spaces back up with retail again, not the big boxes. And that's not just here. That is everywhere. That is happening across the city and across the region. It's not specific to this Aldermanic district or to the former Northridge area. But by bringing manufacturers back into some of those big boxes, it brings a lot of body heat, a lot of human beings coming in every day, jobs in the neighborhood. People will buy houses or rent in the neighborhood. They'll be the customers for the restaurants and for the other smaller businesses that are starting to look at this area as a great place if you're an entrepreneur. And that's something that Alderwoman Lewis, to her credit, has been incredibly active on, not only in the Common Council, but working with us in DCD to really get folks excited about entrepreneurism and small business. And we have great opportunities because we have all of the infrastructure in place. We've got the great connections, we've got good transportation linkages. We got to be able to leverage that now into some of these vacancies, turning into places where entrepreneurs can flourish and where we can get people of all ages interested in calling this area of the city their home. I believe there's tremendous potential here, and we're already seeing the great work that the Business Improvement District has done. I was talking to Marcoux when I was coming in, and obviously looking as good as ever. Okay, we find out we might be related, right? Go figure that one. That's a long story for some other time, but I just found that out, okay? But I wanna just conclude my remarks, and I know we'll probably talk about the property later, but there's a lot of work going on. We have a lot of people deployed at the Department of City Development on the Northwest side, and we see we're getting traction. We know we need to do more. The Alderwoman every day challenges us to do more, and we believe we're up to the challenge. We want everyone here to be able to say, as we move down and further down the road, that we've been successful in doing the things that you've told us are important to you as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is Carolyn, there you are. So I want to bring up really quickly Carolyn Esswein from the UWM Community Design Solutions. She has been working with us, her and her team, on helping to bring all of the ideas into a vision that we can take, have something tangible that we can take to developers. So I want to just give you the opportunity, one, to brief us, because she's been working with us for the last couple of years on all of these boards you see, with the exception, I think, of the library. Okay, so you haven't touched that one. Okay, so everything that you've been seeing, with the exception of the library, Carolyn and her team has helped us to bring these things to fruition. So Carolyn.
Thank you. Good evening. So I'm part of a design center at UW-Milwaukee, Community Design Solutions. So the last time I was speaking to you was over at Vincent High School talking about the charrette process. And we were brought in because you had 70% of your retail was vacant. And so we're excited to see some of that filling up. And obviously we're excited to work with her again, but we're also working with Mary on this building that we're in right now. And so the charrette looked at some of the large, big boxes. So already we know a distributor is going to be going into Target. So it's not retail anymore, but it's filling a vacant parcel and bringing jobs to the neighborhood. In this case, they have the vision of retail. And you heard several people talking about restaurants. There will be spots for 3 incubators. So I'm going to walk you through very briefly. We're actually not done with this project yet, so we're doing all of the other renderings. But right here where the stage is, we're envisioning this could be a gathering area. It could be performance. I know you have these great jazz, pop-up jazz concerts, but this would be a stage area. Behind me would be for 3 kitchen vendors. So if you have a passion for cakes, but you're not quite out on your own yet, this might be a place that you start. So think of it as an entrepreneurial beginning. The rest of the space, there'll be area for 28 different vendors. You might be making hats, you might be making jewelry, it might be other food products. But there's an opportunity for you to start your business here, and as it's called, the Granville Connection, you could come as a resident and see those different businesses. There'll also be an opportunity in the back for daily vendors. So if you just want to try this out for a day, that's an opportunity for you as well. And then we're also envisioning a coffee shop and an area for you to come in and work on your computers. So this might be a place that you come in and work for part of a day, have a meeting here as well. So we're excited, hopefully next year at your event, this is built out. So that's one of the projects we're working on. We're also looking at Bacher Farms and how you might have light industrial. Bacher Farms, if you don't know where that is just north of the Job Corps, a very large, deep parcel where we talked to several industrial users, trying to understand why nobody's looked at that property. And so we're going to show how that could be developed and allow the city to use that as part of their marketing, as part of the Havenwoods redevelopment. So we're kind of excited to be part of this and hope to see this implemented. Thank you.
Thank you. So let's give Carolyn a hand. So as you're beginning to hear, there are a ton of things that we are introducing tonight, right? And one of those big things that we are introducing, you're sitting in. But we're talking about retail, we're talking about restaurants, we're talking about manufacturing, we're talking about rebranding the district as a whole. That is my goal. As I ran for this office and made my commitment, the goal was to rebrand and to revitalize and to breathe new life into a district that had once been thriving and bustling. So that is what I work towards every single day. I could not do it without my team, so I just want you to stand really quickly or wave when I call you. Deborah Moore, if you have not spoken to Deb, you're not calling the office. Wave your hand, Deb. She is handling all of the office stuff. So we could not run this district without Deborah Moore. Our Lisa McHenry, there you are. She helped put this event together. She is our community outreach liaison. So she does the events, the major and the smaller events for all 15 of us. And it's insane, the things that we've been doing. And she's taken charge of all of that. We have, I'm looking for one more. Where'd they go? I don't see it. Arkesia Jackson in the back. There she is. Wave your hand. She does a whole lot. A whole lot. We have to make sure that we are celebrating our team on the ground. And to Mary Haney, who, that's what I was looking for. I was looking for her. Mary, who just works tirelessly from the pop-up events, from the Munch Day, there we go, from the Munch Day Mondays. Have anyone been to a Munch Day Monday? Okay, great. See, because we're trying to get, one of the commitments that I wanted to really fulfill was to bring back the village, to bring back community, because this district is so large that we could be on one side of the district and not see each other. And I want to eliminate that. We need to be able to know who our neighbors are and to really start having that community feel and that village again. And by doing that, community engagement is one of the largest pieces of bringing this neighborhood together, and we could not do that without Neva Hill. Wave, stand, or something. So Neva Hill is the director of the Old Meadows, the Woodlands area. So she has been instrumental in that area, from stabilization to moving that thing forward. It has been her tireless efforts every single day. We appreciate you. We could not have done this without you, and so we are excited to have you on the team. Now that we have all of the preliminaries out of the way, are y'all ready for all the great information? I don't know if are you ready? Are you ready? Don't sound like it. But in all seriousness, I am really eager to tell you about the new and exciting things that have been happening in the district. I want to thank all of the businesses that are here. If you hear your name, wave, stand, or something so that we can acknowledge you for your investment and your commitment into the district. Since I have been Alderwoman for 3 years now, it just turned 3 years, we have either expanded or brought new businesses to the district, from El Tenampa Restaurants Okay. Have you all had the Mexican food at El Tenampa? All right, okay. From Captain D's to Ray's Cafe that took over the old Schlossky's. It is really, really, really good food. If you have not been there, please go and patronize. From Dunkin' Donuts. No? Okay, maybe a couple people. To Court Lane's Mill. One of the things that we want to do, in addition to restaurants, is bring entertainment back to the district, is to bring that vibrancy back to the district. And we are doing that with Court Lane's Mill Road, right there on 52nd and Mill Road, as well as Prime Social. I thought I saw Odin. There he is. He is opening up the Prime Social right there on 76th and Good Hope. It is, I coin it, the Elsa's on the Northwest Side. And once you get the opportunity to host an event or to go there, he's opening up very soon. It is gorgeous inside. He renovated the entire space from top to bottom. And right now, if you need an event space, that is the place to go because it is gorgeous. We also, as of yesterday, have finalized Cream City Boxing. Cream City Boxing will be taking over the old Broadway baby on 52nd and Mill Road. So not only are we bringing entertainment, but we're bringing a sports component to the district, but they will also have a restaurant. So we are adding more and more restaurants to the district because that was one of the things that I heard in the very beginning. We're out of restaurants, we have no place to eat. We are fulfilling that commitment. We also have been filling up the big boxes with ETE expansion. They have taken over the Walmarts as well as the Toys R Us. With the Midwest Refrigeration Services, which is taking over the Target. They are in the district. They have grown so large that they had to expand. So Target is no longer vacant. Toys R Us is no longer vacant. And Sellers, who took over the Sam's Club, is no longer vacant. So if you haven't noticed, we have people moving in. And as Rocky said, we're almost out of space for these larger boxes. We're only down to 3. That's huge. That is huge. And if you haven't noticed, Direct Supply broke ground and is building their global headquarters right over there on Green Tree, 70 Industrial Road. Yes, Industrial Road. We all remember that one, right? So we have been very, very, very busy over the last several years. Well, 3, it's not several, it's 3 years. My goal was to create a space where we could live, work, and play. And we are doing that with the new library. Have you seen the new library? There we go. So we have, and thank you, Sam, for coming, even though it's a playoff night. He has been working diligently and tirelessly on this new library. And I thought I saw the developer team. Did I see Royal Capital, a representative of Royal Capital on my left? Oh, there we go. There we go. Terrell with Royal Capital Group, they are building the new library and the beautiful units. If you're interested in signing up, we have 65 new units, 1 to 3 bedrooms going on top of the new library. And the 3 bedrooms have private entrances. Exactly. See, we've been busy. So make sure you go and see Terrell and sign up if you want a tour of the new library. And while you're at it, we're scrolling through the library space of what it's going to look like. So this is going to be an amazing project that we are so excited will be targeted for September. September 1, we are looking to have people move in. So this is something that we can have right now this year. We also are really excited about a groundbreaking that will be soon to come. Reed's new Golden Gate Funeral Home will be taking over the 76th and Clinton car dealership. So we are not only focused on Brown Deer Road, but we're also focused on the 76th Street corridor, amongst other things. So we have been growing, and filling these vacancies, and we are super excited. And on this one, Mayor Barrett, welcome. I'm gonna bring him up on this one. Come on, look, come on down. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. So our major project, we all know that Northridge has been the 800 elephant in the room, right? That was the bane of my existence and the largest headache that I inherited. And working with the mayor as well as Rocky, we have been pushing, and one more pushing just for added measure, to ensure that that blight does not sit for any longer. We want to make sure that they get the message that we cannot have a property of that size without it being, 1, secure, 2, safe, and an amenity for the area and not a blight. We deserve better. Every time I talk to them, which is not as often as it used to be, I tell them, what are we gonna do? Because I need it done now, because we will not tolerate this blight on our community any longer. And so with that, I will bring the mayor up so we can announce together what our plans are. Announce together what our plans are for this next phase. So we all know that the 20-day raise order was issued. And if you didn't, now you know. We are saying you have to do something with your property because it is, 1, unsafe and unhealthy for us to open it up to the public or to have a tenant inside, even though they are allowing it, and it's unsafe and it's unlawful. We are saying it's time for you to do something. So with the 20-day issue, they have till the end of the month to get a response in and to do something one way or the other. And then we will move forward into litigation. So that is our process. But with that, we are not sitting by and just letting them do, continue to do their part. So we are, in conjunction with the litigation, we are moving forward with our Boston store parcel. Do you want to? Okay, all right. We are moving forward with our Boston store parcel. So this will be a 2-part process. So 1, we are going to tear down our building because unfortunately, like the rest of the mall, it has to come down. I had high hopes in the beginning. I thought we could salvage the space because it is so nostalgic. It is very nostalgic for everyone. I go anywhere in the city and I hear, oh, I had my first job at Northridge. Oh, I watched my first movie at Northridge. I remember eating at this place at Northridge or shopping at this place. So tearing it down was never something that I wanted to do because it has such memories and such a warm place in everyone's heart. I wanted to do all that we could to salvage it. Unfortunately, after the unsanctioned, because we had no clue until it happened, the unsanctioned Winter Wonderland event, it became a target. It became a target for vandalism, which in turn became, it really exposed all of the asbestos, as well as we knew there was mold in the building, but it just started to travel throughout the space because of the lack of concern for the property. And so it was really unfortunate that we had to even come to this place. We had to start sending DNS out more frequently, which is each and every one of us. Those are our dollars that we are extending on a private building. And we had to send out our CLOs time and time again so that they can go and secure a building that did not belong to us. That is not our responsibility. That is the responsibility of the owner. Just like we would say a private home or a private business, it is your responsibility to keep it secure and safe from vandalism and all of the other stuff. This was not happening. So unfortunately, now we are at the point where a raise order was inevitable, and now we have to talk about doing something else with that. So I will let you pop in on this one, Mr. Mayor.
Very much. Well, thank you very much, Alderman. Well, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to crash the party. I appreciate it very, very much. And I want to begin by thanking Alderwoman Lewis for her incredible energy. I don't know if you picked up on the energy that she brings to the job, and her engagement. From day one, she hit the ground running in City Hall. And the challenge, I think, for a lot of people in City Hall has been to keep up with her, because she has so many ideas and so much positive energy. I think it's infectious, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. I want to talk just for a couple minutes about the Northwest side. I want to talk about the whole city for a second, if you'll allow me. What's going on right now in the city of Milwaukee, and I say this oftentimes about our city and cities in general. The one constant with cities is we are always recreating ourselves. We're always reinventing ourselves. And what's going on right now throughout the city of Milwaukee is we've got really a recreation that's going on right now. And I want to talk about my kids for a second to sort of give you a glimpse of this. When I was growing up, if we ever got a package at our house, it was a huge deal. It was a big deal to get a parcel package at our house. Well, I'm going to say about 6 or 7 years ago, we got a package at our house, and I thought it was a big deal. Now, my kids right now are 20, 22, 24, and 26. And what I quickly learned is that my children don't go into department stores. My children do their shopping online. And now my wife does her shopping online. I have even figured out how to shop online. And there's a real impact on changed consumer habits as a result of this cultural revolution of people shopping online. So obviously we saw what happened with Northridge, which happened long before this cultural revolution, but it's had an impact on a lot of businesses, not just on the Northwest side, but certainly in the suburbs. If you look at Bayshore, how dramatically Bayshore has to change. If you look at Southridge, how dramatically Southridge has to change. Brookfield Square, how dramatically Brookfield Square has to change. And Mayfair, with the closing of Boston store. And so what's happening is retail, as I affectionately refer to us, those of us who are getting even closer to middle age, as we perceive it, has changed dramatically. So we had a choice to make in the city. We had the choice as to whether we would embrace a total commitment to trying to take these retail, these big boxes, and keep them as retail, or to repurpose them. And what we have done, and you're seeing this in real time, as the Alderwoman talked about big box after big box after big box, that is being transformed to something that will allow us to have more family supporting jobs here on the northwest part of the city of Milwaukee. And that continues to this day in real time as more and more of these former big boxes are being transformed. And so it takes a shift in thinking. It took a shift in thinking for me to come to the realization, because I spent a lot of time at Northridge when I was growing up, thinking, well, I want Northridge back. Just as you said, I have friends who work there. I want Northridge back. I want Northridge back. So that brings us to Northridge. And I've shared this with some of you before. As mayor, I actually had the opportunity to meet with not the current ownership team, but the former ownership team of Northridge in China. I met with them in China and urged them to please take action on this property. They sat on it, and then about 10 years ago, they sold it to another group. And the group came forth and said, well, all these grand plans. And we didn't hear anything, and we didn't hear anything, we didn't hear anything. And we had lots of conversations internally with the alderman, with Rocky Marcoux, with others. Okay, what can we do? Well, there are very strong legal restrictions as to what we could do in terms of pushing a private business that owned a piece of property and tried to get it back into circulation, as I described. But as the Alderwoman said, what we've seen in the last several years, and more particularly in the last year, is unfortunately, and I mean unfortunately, we have seen this property become very much a health and safety concern. This is a health and safety concern because it has become such an attractive nuisance and such a magnet for negative behavior that it drains our resources from the Department of Neighborhood Services, from the police department, from other places. And we have to go there because we could have something happen. And you could see it in the YouTube video, if you haven't seen it, of someone falling, getting hurt, the asbestos issues. And that's what drove us. The health and safety concerns is what drove us to file the action that we filed. So then the question is, how would they respond? And they have responded with a letter to us saying that they want to meet with us later this month. They want to meet with us later this month, but we've made it clear what our position is. Our position is the amount of money that it would take to bring this back to a healthy and safe condition, we think far exceeds the legal threshold for raising a building. So we'll see what they have to say when they come to town. The one thing that I can say that's good is we clearly have their attention right now. We clearly have their attention right now that we want this for the benefit of the people who live in the Northwest Side, for the benefit of the people throughout the city. We do not want a health, safety concern in the middle of our city. And that's why we're taking the steps we have. And I want to, again, thank the Alderman because we have been marching arm in arm with the Department of City Development, the Alderman's office, and my office to say enough is enough. Now, I don't know what's going to happen next. And as I've described this, the first step we took was the raise order. And I described that as the first domino. The second domino now, as we know, is the letter that they have sent in response. We don't know what the next domino is going to be. But I want you to know that this is on the front burner for us. And what will continue to be on the front burner for us is the work that the Alderwoman talked about. We are very, very proud of the library on Good Hope. We think that that is going to be a great addition to the Northwest Side. And what I envision, just so you know my vision for this city, is we have 13 neighborhood libraries. And I consider each of these neighborhood libraries almost a mini town hall or mini town square. Because the libraries are not your grandma's libraries either. There's computers, there's programs for culinary arts oftentimes, there's sound studios on the one on Mitchell Street, there are certainly movies, there's a lot more computer training. These are places where people come, whether they're 3 years old or 13 years old or 33 years old or 83 years old, to get resources. And we want them to be positive beacons throughout all parts of the city. And we're proud that we're making this investment on the Northwest Side. But the work that Direct Supply is doing is a big plus. The work that we want to continue to do with the Boston store, and the first step is to get rid of the asbestos on there. Again, so that everyone understands this, we had been actively working with Penzi, the Penzi company, because they had stepped forward and said, look, we want to reactivate the Northridge area. We want to do this. We worked with them, and they couldn't have been better to work with, but they ran into the walls as well. So now we're going to continue to do what we can, because we know that this is an important issue on the northwest part of the city of Milwaukee, and we want to do what's right by the people who live here. So again, I want to publicly acknowledge the Alderwoman. I want to thank Rocky Marcoux and his team. I want to thank the library for what they're doing, and I want to thank you for being so engaged to try to make this an even better city. Thank you very much, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at any point.
So before we open up to questions, I just want to reiterate 2 points. One, we have drawn the line in the sand on Northridge, and we are moving that forward on our end. We are taking ownership of the ring roads, and we are working on our parcel to begin the steps to tear that down. So you will see that in the next few months or so. We also have, I failed to mention one new addition to the district. since we're talking about Northridge, with the with that whole corridor, this whole corridor, we also saw pick and save leave. And that means that we have officially, so we were kind of a food desert, but now we are officially a food desert. And with that, we were lacking a grocery store of some kind. One grocery store for the entire district, 40,000 residents, it's not sufficient. So I asked one of the owners if they would mind venturing out into the unknown and opening up a mini grocery store. And I am so glad that his response was, I believe in your vision, let's do it. So we have a Family Foods right there on next to the Rocky Rococo's, and we are turning that into an urban grocery store. It is going to be the most amazing urban mini grocery store that you will see in the city of Milwaukee, because we are taking steps to do the research, number one, but to two, make sure that we are fulfilling all of the needs of the district so that you don't have to take the dollars out into Menominee Falls, into Grafton. That is one of the things that I always reiterate, is when we do not shop in the district, it hurts the district. Especially if we are going above and beyond to recruit and support these businesses to open up. We have to ensure that we are going to El Tanampa's, Ray's Cafe, Prime Social, or Captain D's. We have to make sure that we are soliciting, because our dollars matter. Our dollars matter right here in this district. So I am grateful that we have a mini grocery store in the district. Wave your hand, Vipin. Yeah, there we go. So with that, I want to, we'll bring this up. Can I get a staff member? Oh, here we go.
I'll be a staff member.
Oh, well, there we go.
Okay.
So we will open it up for questions because, and as we are doing that, I want to just say we are sitting in this lovely space that we are knowing that will change the face, thank you, that will assist in changing the face of the district. We talk about the restaurants, we talk about the retail leaving, and here, right here in this space is where our Sherman Phoenix model will be. Has anyone gone to the Sherman Phoenix? There we go. So this space right here will be transformed into that so that we can make sure that we have some sort of retail on a smaller scale in the space so that we can make sure that our dollars circulate in the district. So we are super excited to announce that, and we will be announcing all of those details when we have all of the plans and things finalized, working with the design solutions as well as the development firm. So be on the lookout for that major announcement. But I wanted to drop that into your ears because that is why we are in this space. So the pop-up shops, the pop-up jazz events are really starting to activate this space so that people can get familiar with coming right here, because this will be our version of the Sherman Phoenix, the Granville Connection, coming soon. And I have a question. Yes, ma'am.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say I am delighted that you are working on Northridge, because I live near Northridge and I still use Menards and Citizen Bank and Andy's and Taco Bell. Is the city committed to fixing the streets
Yes.
and the parking lots? Because my car was almost eaten by a pothole right out here. So, and I think that makes a difference to make it look nice.
Yes. And I absolutely agree with you. My mom lives right on the other side of Northridge Lake, so she's right there. So I swerve every other day to avoid the potholes. But to answer your question, absolutely. So one of the things that I mentioned was us taking ownership. We are going to be putting the file forward to officially take ownership of the ring roads, as well as help me, Rocky. It's the ring road, so we will maintain them. We won't redo them just yet because the thought is to have development at that site completely. So we wouldn't want to put new roads in and then have to replace the roads once the development has started as well. But it is high on the priority list, and we will maintain them and make sure that the potholes are not eating cars up. But it is definitely at the forefront with that whole Northridge property.
What about the parking lots? Because, for example, there's a lot of stores that are vacant here. Maybe 1 or 2 stores move in, but the whole parking lot's all connected. So who takes care of the parking lots?
So the parking lots are our responsibility, except for the Menards parcel, but they have planned to fix their roads. And as the ETE has taken over Toys R Us, so they are going to fix their roads. But once we take the ownership, then it is our responsibility to maintain them.
If I could say something just in general about infrastructure, I think you can see at the national level, President Trump and the Democratic leaders in Congress just had a meeting several weeks ago where they talked about I think a $2 to $3 trillion infrastructure plan. I don't know what's going to happen with all the stuff flying around in Washington, D.C. At the state level, I actually think that the potential for a transportation bill has the greatest impact, the greatest potential for bipartisan support at the state level. That Governor Evers and the Republican legislature, I think that's the place where they see the most potential for coming together. Both of those bode well for us because of a lot of the funding that we receive in the Milwaukee area, and specifically in the city of Milwaukee, is going to be coming from the state government and the federal government, because a lot of the roads are clearly state roads, and some of the roads are eligible for federal funding as well. So we are always looking for additional dollars for us to be able to repair the roads that we have here. This is, and we are in basically the heart of pothole season. Because following the winter, when you've got the freeze and the thaw, the freeze and the thaw, the freeze and the thaw, that's what creates problems and challenges for every single one of us, including me. And what we've been able to do just in the last few weeks, and this happens each year, and I'm not an engineer, so it took me a while to learn this, is in the winter, we have to use what I call the cold tar, because we can't use the hot tar. But once springtime hits, we can use the hot tar, and that goes a long way into doing a better job in repairing the potholes. Again, that doesn't mean they're not there, but the hot tar sticks a lot better. What we need is people to call 286 City to report them. And we have teams out there, and we try to make sure that we get out there as quickly as we can with our Department of Public Works. You may recall in February, Brian Rodriguez, a DPW, was killed as he was repairing a pothole. So this is dangerous work, and I would simply also ask us to remember that, because that was a call I never want to get, is an individual who's filling a pothole and someone wasn't paying attention and just rammed right into him and killed him. So this is something that is a priority for us. I know it's a priority for the Alderwoman, and we want to do everything we can, because just like all of you, I drive the streets of the city of Milwaukee, and it can be very frustrating. I acknowledge that and accept that responsibility. Other questions?
Yes, in the back.
I too want to say I'm excited about the plans in the area. Northridge has been an eyesore for a lot of people. I've been living in this area for about 18 years. And not only is it an eyesore and safety thing, but crime has gone up big time. I live in a condo complex east of Northridge Lakes. Had been in the hospital with many health issues, finally was able to get to my pool and got threatened by a group of young people that I couldn't find anybody to help me get home. So I know the police probably know about it, but I'm sure we could all probably share some horror stories of how the crime has increased. And I hope that this is going to help decrease it and maybe send it away.
I'm sorry to hear that, and I'm sure that the CLOs are definitely working on that. But I will say that having Ms. Neva and the community engagement piece as a very important component to the revitalization of the district is huge. And we've been working on a coalition of organizations coming together so that we can handle, and actually not handle, so that we can service the young people. One of the things that I always say is if we don't have parks, if we don't have playgrounds, if we don't have after-school care or activities or sports infrastructure, that's why it's really critical to bring Cream City boxing into the districts. If we don't have those things in place, our young people are bored. They have nothing to do. So the work that Ms. Neva has been doing over the last several years has been vital to transforming the district overall because we are engaging the young people. We are bringing activities, basketball leagues, soccer, baseball, trips, activities, those types of things to them because, again, if you don't have anything to do, you're gonna find, what's the saying? Idle hands makes, if you don't have anything to do, it's unfortunate. So that's why it's vital for us to continue this work. And we will be announcing soon. We have plans in place to provide a hub for them to be able to come. We have as of Monday, SDC has taken over heading our coalition, and we'll have a satellite office out in that area because it's vital to have it. So all of those services, the wraparound services, as well as the Fatherhood Initiative, I thought I saw Tasha Dotson from the Fatherhood Initiative, as well as, and we have to shout out Crossway Church from Germantown. They have come into this area to provide assistance with resources as well as bodies to help provide tutoring, to help provide reading programs and English as a new language. We have a large Hispanic community that has moved into the area. So we have to provide services to 2 different languages, the Hmong community as well as the Hispanic community, but engaging our young people and our young adults. And that's why Direct Connect is a huge thing, that it's a council-led initiative where you can have access to jobs right on your phone. It is a huge opportunity knowing who the job and the employers are and connecting them to the young people who need those jobs so that they can, 1, occupy their time, but then 2, earn those skills that are needed to become, productive citizens. So this is an initiative that we will be announcing very shortly. I wanted to announce it tonight, but we are working on some plans with that. Development takes a minute. That's why we only see 1 crane in the district, but there are several others that are on their way. It takes a minute to get it out the pipeline. So with that, just know we are absolutely working on that. That is part of our 3 tiers, is the community engagement with the young people, because I want to see more parks in the district. It just takes a minute to bring those things to fruition. But I completely hear you, I understand, and we are definitely working on that. Thank you for your question. Right here. Okay, and then, okay. Yes, sir.
I live up on Northridge, but 60th Street from Bradley Road south to Mill Road is one big pothole. Yeah. Swan Boulevard from Brown Deer up to county lines potholes. As soon as you get across county line, it's all nice smooth road. Same way with 60th Street. As soon as you get in Brown Deer, there's no potholes. So filling potholes is not the answer. We need complete repaving of the roads. Where can we look to see when that's scheduled?
So we could definitely send out a list of the high impact pavement processes that will begin. But this goes back to the point that the mayor was making. We need more funding from the state. So I don't know if you realize, but we as a city, we generate over $5 billion just from the city alone. And the way that it's set up, we have to send that money to the state, and we get almost $1.5 billion. There's a huge deficit. So we have to, that's why you saw the mayor pushing for our increased shared revenue and making sure that we get our equitable share of the funds that we generate in this city. It's hard to fill, if we look at it rationally, the entire city needs to be repaved, because you go from one side to the other and we're talking potholes, 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 and everybody's having to, you know, fix undercarriages and broken tires. We have to have the funding to be able to do those types of things. So my suggestion, call your state representative, call your senator, call the legislatures to help to encourage them to support the people's budget so that we can get the revenue that we need to begin to not fill potholes, but repave streets. Yes. Oh, okay, yes.
Thank
yes,
you for
ma'am.
coming. Do I understand correctly, there are two issues for tear down? One is Boss's store, and the remaining area is the issue you're going to discuss with the Chinese owners.
Yes. So yes, the mall is broken down to two ownerships. The Boston store is city owned as of December. Am I correct? December last year? Okay. As of December, Penzi was the previous owner, and it transferred from Penzi Spices to the city of Milwaukee. He gave it to us. So we own the Boston store. The Chinese ownership owns the remaining parcel. So we are pushing for them to restore or to tear down their parcel, because that is the parcel that has the most blight and vandalism. It was really unfortunate because when I first took office, I toured the North Ridge. It was still in pretty good condition, and I know everyone was saying, why don't we just tear it down? It still looked like it had just closed yesterday. It wasn't until after the video, and I stress this because I've visited and I've been inside, that the vandalism began to happen. They started tagging the place. They started poking holes in the sides of the drywall, taking chairs and busting up the drywall. It was so bad that there was a time capsule. And in my mind, I created an entire event that we were going to open up the time capsule and really understand what happened when they first built the mall. Unfortunately, they jackhammered the time capsule up and took it. It is that level of vandalism. There's been fires inside of the mall, and so it is completely unsafe for us to even open it up to the public and let you all in. And that was the plan 2 years ago for me to have an event so that everybody can walk through and see it. But unfortunately, it is truly unsafe for us to go in. So that is why we are pushing so hard to have them to tear it down. Thank you.
Chantia,
Yes, Margaret.
I just want to compliment you and thank you for all you do for our district. You are working tirelessly.
Thank you.
One of the things I want to thank you for is your commitment to the crime. And this probably goes more towards you, Mayor Barrett. I just want to say no to criminal detention facilities in this district. And I want you to know that. I do not want criminals coming into my district that I don't need that. And I hope you understand that, to please do not sell that property to the state.
Let me talk a little bit about crime, and then let me talk a little bit about the juvenile detention facilities. When I started this job, we have two major sources of funding for the city of Milwaukee. One source is our property taxes. The second source is the shared revenue that we receive from the state of Wisconsin. And the shared revenue program is a program that's been in existence for over 100 years. And the whole thrust behind the shared revenue program when it was created was, rather than having communities compete against each other, Milwaukee competing against Menominee Falls or Glendale or Brown Deer, that what would happen is that the state would be the one that would collect the revenue, and then it would share some of the revenue back with local governments. based on their property wealth. And so we are a city with a lot of low-income people, so we would generally get more money. And that system worked very, very, very well for 80, 90 years. But in the last 2 decades, and more specifically in the last decade, the state has allowed it to wilt on the vine. In other words, it hasn't increased. In fact, in some years, it's decreased. So what's been the impact here in the city of Milwaukee? When I started this job, the amount of money that we received in shared revenue was almost enough to cover the entire cost of the police department and the entire cost of the fire department. Now, it doesn't cover the cost of either. And one of the surprises that residents feel when I tell them this, but it's true, the budget for our Milwaukee Police Department is larger than the entire property tax levy for the city of Milwaukee. Let me say that again. The budget for just the police department is larger than the property taxes for the entire city of Milwaukee. That means we need to have this partnership with the state to fund our libraries, our Department of Neighborhood Services, our health department, our fire department. And we were very, very pleased with the governor's budget because for the first time in a long time, he put a 2% increase in the budget for shared revenue. Not a huge amount, but it was, and it was more than symbolic, but it was the first time in basically a decade where a governor said, okay, local governments matter. The legislature is poised to take that out. Poised to take that increase in shared revenue out. And so I want to have, the alderman wants to have enough police officers and firefighters, and that's the challenge we have. And so, as the alderman said, we have to let our state representatives and state senators know that, and she made reference to this, a decade ago, you could, when we were in the depths of recession, you could make the case that the state of Wisconsin gave more money to the city of Milwaukee than we sent to them. But we looked at the shared revenue, we looked at the community aids, we looked at the youth aids, we looked at the school aids. In 2007, how much we received then, how much we receive now, and how much we generated for the state. And now it's more in the neighborhood of $500 million more we send to them than they send back. So a request I have for you is if you have any friends or relatives from around the state that complain that Milwaukee gets more from the state or that somehow we're siphoning off from the state, if you could just very professionally and very politely slap them upside the head and tell them that just isn't true. That just isn't true. So now just to touch on the juvenile facilities. We have a problem in the state. We have a serious problem at Lincoln Hills. Lincoln Hills is built for 300 kids. And what happened was the state initially said, we want to have some in local areas. And they initially said, we're going to designate 3 pieces of state property in southeastern Wisconsin, and then they put together a local group to decide where there would be a state facility. There's going to be a state facility and a county facility. So they came forth, and I think this is what you're referring to. It's basically on 73rd and Mill Road, I think Mill Road, where the DMV center is there. And the reason they chose that was because the 3 plots of land they had to choose among, one was in Kenosha County, one was in Waukesha County, and one was in Milwaukee County. That was the only site in Milwaukee County that the group could choose from. So not surprisingly, because this was comprised primarily of Milwaukee people, they said, well, we want that one. That's where the alderwoman and I stepped forward. And I said, whoa, that is essentially across the street from a residential neighborhood. And I support having a facility here, just to be clear. I support that because I think it makes sense to do that. I do not support having it in a residential neighborhood. And so I stepped forward and said, let's have another site, and I chose a site in Tetonia, and that has controversy as well. But I felt an obligation, because I do support closing Lincoln Hills, again, to be clear, to come up with something. I do not support that site. I don't support, the county initially looked at the site on 62nd and Mill Road. I don't support that site for the county either. And so we've been working with the county to try to find an alternative site for them. But I want us all to be on the same page here, because one of the things that's going on is, again, we're talking 300 beds up in Lincoln Hills. The state facility is about a tenth of that size. So it's 32 beds. The state facility is actually larger than the county facility, which would be 40 beds. So I think that we do have an obligation to try to find a place here in Milwaukee, and I've said that. I'm not just going to be a naysayer. I'm going to come forth with a recommendation, and I realize that can be controversial. But I've made it very, very clear what I won't accept, and that's one right there along Mill Road. And part of this is, again, so everybody knows, because we went through this over a decade ago with the Job Corps Center. And the Job Corps Center has got a couple hundred kids there. These are good kids. Those are kids that don't have criminal records. But I don't want any part of the city to become what I would call institutionalized. And right now, you can make the case in Franklin, there's probably 1,300 people at the county jail there. Wauwatosa has a lot of kids at the center there. Downtown, we've got a facility downtown. And I think it's fair to have in some parts of the city, but I will not accept overloading one part of the city with it. And that's where I've been very, very clear with everybody. And again, it's a very much of a challenge to do this. But I want us to be able to work with the state and with the county. But again, we've been very clear, and the alderman's been clear, and I've been very clear, not along Mill Road there.
Back to the roads.
They'll bring you the mic.
I don't think people will come to this area if our roads are as bad as they are now. I'd rather drive to Menards and Menominee Falls than take the ring road to the current Menards. That's how bad that road is. And I think that instead of putting all the money in downtown Milwaukee, maybe they should put some money up here to fix our problems. Thank you.
You had your hand up? I don't disagree with you. I think that we absolutely need to do the roads in the entire city. Again, it's not a 9th district issue. It's a city of Milwaukee issue. And they go everywhere in the city. They go downtown streets. They're not great either. So, and people traverse downtown and the east side and you know, wherever they want to go, because there are things there that are attracting them. So I don't think the roads necessarily are a deterrent, but we do need to attack that. But again, I'm asking all of you, call your state senators, call your state representative, and let them know to support the bill that was put forth so that we can get the money to be able to fix the roads. Yes.
So getting back to the Northridge problem, you've explained that you're drawing the line in the sand with the current owners, and they've requested to come and meet you sometime this month. The option for them is either do something or sell. And in both those cases, how would you respond to that? I mean, if they're going to do something like fix the building and then what, put retail in there? If they sell it, then what happens? Who comes in and buys it? Does the city buy it and then get rid of them all? Do you put it on the market and have some other buyer buy it? Or what's the long-term plan for that with this option?
So this is again, I refer to our step as the first domino, okay? Because we don't know exactly what's going to happen. And so again, they have responded, they want to come back to us. Our analysis was based on the cost to remediate the property, how much it would be, and we made a determination and felt very comfortable that the amount it would take to put it back into workable condition exceeds the legal threshold for that. And Rocky can tell you this because we've had some lively exchanges in our office, because I'm trying to look down the road, just as you're saying, okay, what happens here? What if they fix it? If they fix it, then we'll have one conversation. What if they don't fix it? Then we have an obligation to come in, and this goes to your point, that will be millions and millions of dollars that the city will spend to take down that property, okay? Then it goes essentially onto their property tax bill. What happens then? Again, that's the next domino. We don't know what's going to happen then. Would they pay for that, or would they walk away from it? We don't know the answer to that. And so in our calculus, we've had to look at the possibility that we, the taxpayers, may end up at some point carrying this burden. I hope it doesn't happen, but that was part of the conversation we've all had, is what, and this goes to your point, what if they walk away at some point? I'm hoping that they're going to come in and say, we're going to fix it all and then we're going to sell it, or we're going to fix it all and then we're going to do something with it. I don't know. I think, though, the most important point for every person here is that the battle has been joined, is the way I would describe it. That they know, now that we've started the legal proceedings based on health and safety, that they're going to appeal it to the courts, is my assumption, or they're going to try to come to us. But we have to have a contingency plan, or contingency plans, in the event that we have to take ownership and pay for that. And again, we're talking millions and millions of dollars. So would I rather take that money and spend that on roads? Absolutely. We feel, though, that this has been such a frustration to me personally, to the alderwoman personally, and probably more so to the people who live near it, that we had to make this move. And again, it was based on health and safety. I want to say that over and over again. I totally agree that that's the 800-pound gorilla, I think is what you call it. Yeah.
Unless that building is either gone or it's turned into something that's really productive to the community.
I totally agree that we want to do it. And again, what we have to do is we have to take the steps. There have been lawsuits galore to tie these things up for years. Okay, and so we don't know what's going to happen here. We don't know how much they want to litigate this. But I'm trying to give us some hope here. And the hope is that we're now in the game, and we're in the game, and we have been frustrated. We have been frustrated, but when you've got private ownership, there are limitations as to what local government can do.
Go over there and I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. And I will just say to that, even if they come back and say, we're going to do this, we will not accept that without a real plan, because I've heard of and I've seen this is what we're going to do. So if they're coming back and saying, no, we absolutely want to develop, okay, great, where's the money? We want some earnest money put down so that we as a community can begin to trust even what you're trying to tell us. Because as of right now, I have no faith that they are, unfortunately, going to do anything with it. So we have many developers that are waiting to do something. If they want to sell it, we've got developers lined up. I've actually taken 4 separate developers to them, being proactive to get them to sell. So I don't think it's, if they want to sell it, that there aren't any buyers. It's, let's sell it. We've got several buyers. Even when I go to Vegas to the International Shopping Center Conference, we have that conversation every year. Okay, what's happening with Northridge? So there is absolutely interest in that parcel. We just have to get them to either sell it or to develop it on their own. But trust me, we will not even accept that plan without some sort of earnest money to show a good faith that they are going to move that step in the right direction.
Okay. And I just wanted to ask a question with respect to the investment into this district. Is there some type of plan with all this development for some type of, for the minority contractors to make sure that we're investing you know, we talk about the crime and we're talking about how, you know, things are increasing with crime. Are we investing in minorities to try and help, specifically African Americans, to try and increase the wealth in this district? I made an effort to live here. When I got my degree and came back to Milwaukee, you know, I had a choice. I could have lived out in the suburbs, but I said I wanted to live in Milwaukee. I said I wanted my kids to go to MPS. We did both. So the investment I made in the city, I want my kids to be able to reap from that.
Yeah.
And we have been putting our time in as African Americans into this city, into this city, into the city. We need to start getting something back, some investment back.
So I agree with you. And I will absolutely say that the library is one of the prime examples that I can point to within this district. This is, Raynell, can you stand up for me? Raynell Washington is from Town Bank. He is the bank and the person, the point of contact for this property. Royal Capital Group is the construction, and Melissa Goings, if you have not heard of Melissa, Google her name, she is amazing. This is essentially a project that we were very intentional about, making sure that minorities have contractability and have the ability to go after these levels of contracts. I see acre grads in the building right now. We are, as a city, are very instrumental and strategic in making sure that we are investing in our communities, in the minority communities, especially having a historical amount of minorities on the council right now. We understand the need, and we are working every single day. That's what the RPP was about, making sure that we had a really good, diverse group of minorities working on the Bucks Arena. It's playoff night. We are making sure that we have at every level, even with the DNC, that every level that minority business owners, minority wannabes, hopefuls, entrepreneurial hopefuls have the opportunity to put their hat in the ring at some level. So the library is instrumental and catalytic on multiple fronts. But we also have, from the community engagement piece, this community engagement piece is going to be amazing because we are targeting the different fields. So it's not just engaging the community and saying, we want to make sure that you can, I don't know, graduate from high school. We are focusing on career field areas to help put them in the pipeline. We're fostering entrepreneurship. That's why this Granville connection is going to be catalytic in this area. We are making sure that we are investing in not just downtown, but the neighborhoods and all people in the city. So it is at the forefront of all of our minds, especially down in the council, to make sure that the investment on all of those fronts are happening. And I appreciate you for coming, for staying and buying and building and investing in the city. Thank you.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for
evening.
taking my question. I'd just like to revisit something that you just said, Mayor, just for the point of clarification regarding the two sites, the state and the county facilities. Are you saying they're off the table, or are they still on the table?
I think it's safe to say that the Mill Road site, I think, is off the table. I think there are still several elected officials at the state level that are pushing it. I've had many conversations with the Secretary of Corrections, with the governor himself, about my objections to that site. The county, I've had conversations with the woman who's in charge in citing that site, and I've made my point very, very strongly there. They are looking at another site. Now that site would be on the northwest side, but it's not in a residential area. And so I have made it clear that both the 73rd and Mill Road site and the 62nd and Mill Road site are non-starters for the city.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Right here.
I definitely want to echo that.
So the site that they stated on Teutonia, is that on or off?
Well, that's a hotbed issue right now. It's still on the table. It's still on the table. There are objections. I would say most of those objections are coming from people, not all of them, but I should say many of the objections are coming from people who live in Glendale. And I respect them very, very much. And what I've said is, look, if you want to have it any place in Glendale, let us know. Ironically, I don't know that they do. But again, I want to make it clear. I think it is better public policy for us to have a much smaller, and the state facility is 32 beds. Again, right now the current facility is 300 beds. So this is roughly 10% of the size of what's at Lincoln Hills. And part of the debate that's going on this week is the need to have more effective programming for these kids. Because the reality is, these kids are going to be coming out of the institution. And so I want us to put a focus on rehabilitation, because the recidivism rate or the repeat offender rate for kids coming out of Lincoln Hills, I think, is north of 70%. And so we have to, as a society, have to do much better than that. So I think part of the challenge, if you go to Lincoln Hills, there are no people of color who work there. I think that there is a divide between the kids who are there and the people who are working there. And I think that we have a better opportunity here. So again, I want to stress, as much as I want to see that facility closed, I don't want to see it in a residential area here, but I do want to see it in Milwaukee.
My concern is we don't have two in the same district. That's one thing.
And again,
if you're going to put it somewhere, okay.
I think they would be in different parts. They're not going to be, and I actually had talked about having them at Tony. There were objections to that, and I said, I understand that. I understand that. Again, we're talking about, I would say right now, a total of 72 beds for both the county and the state together. But I think people said, separate them. I said, fine, separate them. But I don't think you're going to see them right next to each other. They may be several miles from each other, but they're not going to be next to each other.
Okay. As long as they're not in all of them in the 9th district.
Well, again, again, so everybody understands here, I view, there's 15 aldermanic districts, and I don't want to sound like Father knows best. I understand, I don't want to overload any part of the city, that I think that we have to sort of spread it around everywhere. So I'm very sensitive to that. I'm very sensitive to that.
Oh, yes. So before we do that, though, I will say I am fighting to ensure that we are not having them in the same districts. So I understand, because we have space, that it's the natural progression. Oh, let's go to the 9th. Yeah, we're not having that. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So just so you know, I am not doing that. But I do agree that we one, need to close Lincoln Hills down, and two, because we are seeing a lot of the kids coming from Milwaukee, that we do need to take some of that onus and take care of our own children, because the recidivism rate is way too high, and if they don't have people who look like them to help with programs and so on and so forth, again, it goes back to my comment earlier, then what do you expect them to do? So we have to take some level of responsibility to help guide them back onto the right direction. And so I am absolutely fighting to ensure that it's not in a neighborhood. I said that from day one. I think if we have to house, because what the mayor didn't touch on is, we're talking about closing Lincoln Hills, but it's a state law that we have to close Lincoln Hills, and that Milwaukee has to be on the table. So if it comes down to it, then I would fight to ensure, this has been another one of those joint ventures that we're fighting to ensure that it's not in a neighborhood, so we will find the best location. But I think it's having those conversations, it's vital that we have those conversations with the community to educate on what it looks like, what the programming is going to be, because right now we're talking about this pie in the sky, what it's going to be without any real tangibles. So we absolutely have to have those conversations of why it's necessary. And really quickly, the Granville Advisory Committee was formed, and it's really catalytic in this district as well. This is something that we wanted to put forth to ensure that the residents have a voice at the table. It's similar to the Bronzeville Advisory Committee. The difference is we don't have a lot of those city-owned properties like they have in Bronzeville. We have privately owned properties. But this way, the residents get to have a seat at the table and help guide the process of what development looks like in this community, what the change and the rebranding looks like in this community long after I'm gone, right? So this will be etched in stone so that no one can come and take that seat from you. That if you apply to be on the committee, we will show you what you need to know and make sure that your voice is being heard, and that is in conjunction working closely with the bid so that we know the direction that we want to take this district. So I'm really excited about the Granville Advisory Committee, so thank you for that, because I think it's always important that we have the community at the table.
Time for one more question?
Yes, ma'am.
Getting back to the funding for the potholes, do we get shared revenue from the Powerball winner? That was really big in this state. And if so, could we use that instead of expanding the trolley route? I mean, we really need our potholes fixed.
Let me just talk about the Powerball winner. I said, I have 3 daughters and a son, and I said he'd be a perfect match for one of my daughters or my son. Because he's a wealthy young man, and I think right now that money will go into the general coffers of the state. That's where it will go. But we will get no more. We will get no more based on that. And that's one of the issues that we're talking. I mean, you sort of nailed the fundamental issue there, is that money was generated here. That tax revenue was generated here. Now, it was, I think, in New Berlin, though, wasn't it? New Berlin, so it was Waukesha County, but it was in the Milwaukee area. The state is going to have a huge benefit from that, just as, quite honestly, the state has a huge benefit from the contract that Giannis Antetokounmpo signed and the income taxes that he's paying the state. And all the Bucks are paying income taxes to the state. And so our point is that we are generating a lot of sales tax, income tax, gas tax, corporate tax, and we're simply asking the state to honor the sharing commitment that was the underpinning of the shared revenue program. And we're having a difficult time because the legislature has been very hostile. The former governor was very hostile to it. Now the legislature continues to be very hostile to it. Just to be clear, I had vetoed the wheel tax, and my veto was overridden long before the alderwoman came. So just so you know that. So my concern was that some of it goes to, and I'd have to have budget here to talk about it. There used to be more of a sharing agreement when you had the roads in front of your house repaired. That has been changed dramatically as a result of that. And so now, rather than having residents of a particular neighborhood have some ownership in paying for some of that, it's coming out of that. That to me is one of the problems. And so that ship has sailed, however. And so now the funding for road repair in residential neighborhoods has changed fundamentally as a result of that. That's probably the biggest change. It's going for those. For the amount you used to be assessed, if the street in front of my house, if it were rebuilt, I would be assessed for some of that. That has changed, and now it comes out of that pot. Do you follow what I'm saying? For the city of Milwaukee, because it's a city of Milwaukee tax. It's a city of Milwaukee wheel tax. Yes, but again, the instead of having a neighborhood have their street repaired and them sharing into it, it comes out of the larger pot. So if you had kept the old system where you would continue to pay towards your repair in front of your house, and then had that go to more major streets, you would have been able to do more.
So yeah. So one second, because I want to be respectful of time, because we are close to our end time, and I know it's playoff night. I know everybody want to catch the second part. Is halftime? Is at halftime? Are we winning? We're in the first quarter?
Can we get a score? Let's get a score. All right, Bucks up by 10. All right, good. Okay.
Look at that. Great.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes.
Here, Rocky, you want to get rid of this?
Okay, 1 second.
Did I understand that there are new owners at Northridge?
No.
Oh,
No, these are the same owners from 10 years ago. There was a owner previous to that about 15 years ago, so yes.
Okay, so those owners, do they own any other property in this country?
It's hard to tell.
Oh, it's hard to tell. Because I was saying, why not put pressure on the other, I mean, just, start a campaign against them wherever they are if they have other properties in this country.
Yeah, we're not aware of any other property that Black Spruce owns in the United States. Doesn't mean that they don't, but we are not aware of it.
Yes. So I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out tonight. We will hang around for a few more minutes, so if you have some, I want to release the group as a whole and thank the mayor and Rocky for coming out, Carolyn, Sam from the library, as well as our caterers, Palais Catering, Mima. The food was amazing. Our CLOs, our firefighters, Direct Connect, Terrell with Royal Capital Group, and we cannot forget DNS, Department of Neighborhood Services, for coming out and doing a phenomenal job in this area. So thank you all so much for joining us for the second State of the District. I hope you are excited about what's happening, what we've been able to accomplish over these past 3 years, and what the future looks like. So have a great rest of the night. Thank you all for being engaged in the district. I appreciate each and every one of you.